Nintendo in 2020, there's so much to look forward to, and also a lot of things to just wish for. And between the things that we know what we're getting and the things that I want, here is my top 8 of what I hope for in Nintendo's 2020. Keep in mind, I will not be ordering these in any particular way. I will just be talking about them in an order that I deem flows well. Number 1, I would love to see a port of the Metroid Prime Trilogy. I view these games to be some of the best games ever made, honestly. I also think they would just find themselves a very good home on the Switch, with the Joy-Cons being great replacements for the Wii Remote and Nunchuck. And Okami HD has even proven that the Joy-Cons can do motion sensing quite well. The Joy-Cons would also up the immersion that the Metroid Prime Trilogy already conveys by using HD Rumble. It would be a definitive way to play the game, and it would be all the better for it. Besides, as it is, booting up a Wii or Wii U to play the Prime Trilogy is kind of a hassle with all of the cords involved and even batteries for the Wii remotes. This port would be a very smart move in many ways, mainly because a lot of people are looking forward to Prime 4, and it would be a great way to help us wait. On top of this, it would introduce a lot of new people to the series before Prime 4, which will potentially up the sales of Prime 4 in the long run, especially with how big the user base is for the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of smart ports, the second thing I would like to see is Zelda Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD bundled together as a Switch port. I really don't need to explain this one. It's kind of obvious that this should be done, and I think it should have been done already, and I'm surprised it hasn't been. It's a cash grab. It would be an easy way to make money, and they should just do it. Hell, if they even sold them separately, I would still buy Twilight Princess. And maybe even Wind Waker again, we'll see. And at number 3, to top off all the ports that I want, I would love a port of Nier Automata on the Switch. This has become one of my most beloved games, and it's one of those games that makes you just want to take it on the go, especially when you're doing side quests, which are amazing in this game. And I just want to do all the things that I did in this game on the go everywhere I can and experience it as many times that I can. And having it portably on the Switch would be a great way to do that. I'd even appreciate a remaster of sorts of the original Nier, but we would need that on any console before we even get it on Switch, so I highly doubt that's ever gonna happen. At number 4, I want to see Breath of the Wild 2 released this year. I know, it may sound like it's a stretch that it could release this year at all, but I think it's very possible. If you think about it, what took so long to develop the original Breath of the Wild was the engine. They were developing the engine itself for years. Now they have that engine and they're just using it to make more things. So I don't think it's gonna take them too long. Majora's Mask only took a year to make, and while it was technically incomplete, even though it functioned as a complete game, it shows that once you have an engine, it doesn't take much to make another game out of that engine. Especially if they started development of Breath of the Wild 2 before they even announced it, it is very likely that we will be seeing it this year. And yes, that is one of my biggest wants out of Nintendo in 2020. Speaking of big games that I'm hoping to see in 2020, number 5 is Bayonetta 3. This is probably my most anticipated new game, because I'm a huge Bayonetta fan, and it's really the only series that rivals Zelda in excitement for me. I guess Metroid Prime comes close, and some one-offs like Okami or Nier Automata would also intrigue me, but those are very unlikely because they are one-offs. So yeah, Bayonetta 3. I want to see it this year. At the very least, I do think we are going to get a trailer, but at the very most, I honestly believe it's going to release this year. You can check out any of my other videos talking about Bayonetta 3. I have entire videos of what I want from that game in particular, so feel free to check those out. In the meantime, let's move on to number 6. Now we're getting into fixes territory, and I really want to see fixes for Pokemon Sword and Shield. One thing these games did nail was the fun factor, but unfortunately, the technical side was another story. And I'm not exaggerating, it's a whole nother story. It's an entire catalog of issues with pop-ins and glitching out online and 0 post-game and $30 for things that should have been in the game in the first place and $60 for an incomplete package, missing Pokemon and bad animations, significant frame rate drops for no reason when the game already runs at 30 frames per second with terrible graphics yet somehow manages to still not perform well, cutscenes with moving mouths but no voice, wild Pokemon spinning around in circles instead of moving naturally, Nintendo 64 textures, and this list just goes on and on. Long story short, they need to fix this game, and I really hope they do in 2020, especially with this new expansion pack coming out, which better come along with a buttload of fixes. And speaking of fixes, I would love to see Bayonetta fixes and buffs in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate this year in 2020. Bayonetta mains and non-Bayonetta mains alike all know that she needs something to help her in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, whether it be buffs or fixes to her non-functioning moves. This is definitely one of my most wanted for 2020, even if it is related specifically to Smash Bros. But yeah, last thing on this list, number 8. Also related to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I would love to see a 2B and 9S duo as one of the DLCs in the next Fighters Pass. Now, I've talked about this in a video before of how I think they should function in the game as a duo, but if you want to look at that, feel free to check out that video, which I will link in the description, along with any other videos referenced in this video. That concludes my list of most wanted things for Nintendo in 2020. So, what did you think? What would you like to see in Nintendo's 2020? What do you think about my wants for Nintendo in 2020? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video so that we can all get talking about this. And for those of you who are willing to support me on Patreon, I will have that linked in the description as well, along with my social medias if you want to check those out. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.